Florida hasn't won a national championship in 15 years, and they're not on track to get any better with Billy Napier, so as much as I'd love to see them continue to suffer as a Kentucky fan, I'm gonna attempt to fix the Gators in NCAA football. In order to consider myself successful, I have 6 challenges that I must complete, but I've also put some restrictions in place, and the first one is I can only recruit players that are interested in Florida. Additionally, I can only hop into 3 games a year myself, so I have to actually turn around this 81 overall roster. And lastly, I only have 5 seasons to complete all 6 of these challenges, so this is going to be extremely difficult. And thank you to Rocket Money for sponsoring this video, but more on them later. Now, I do know that I have a Florida jersey right behind me that's signed by Anthony Richardson, but I'm a Colts fan, so that's the only reason it's there. And I grew up rooting for Kentucky, so I watched us struggle to beat the Gators for 32 years, which is why if I failed this 5-year rebuild, I wouldn't really care. That's why I'm putting a free copy of the new college football game on the line, and if I can't complete even just one of these challenges, I'll be giving it away to a random commenter when it drops. Now we're ready to get things started, and I am happy about our quarterback room because freshman DJ Lagway could be amazing, and since we have a 5-star like him on the roster, I don't think QB's a real team need. I will be using Fang's recruiting mod in this video, so recruits could be up to like a 95 overall, and we'll see how many players are interested in being a Gator. It looks like there's 178 for me to choose from. I wanted to make it so I couldn't just go after anybody, and there's going to be a lot of players that bust, like Ches Bowman for example, so that's what makes Fang's recruiting mod so great, but we also have Matrell Harrison that went up to a 94. Now we're 4,000 points behind, so we have no chance at getting him. And so far, almost every player that turned out to be a high overall, we're not going to be able to win on. That's how it's going to be possible to sign an 88 plus overall recruit though. And taking a look at our first schedule, there's not a single cupcake opponent on here. Now I can redshirt a couple of guys like freshman halfback KD Daniels, so I'm going to take the smart route and do that with a lot of these players, but that could also cause them to transfer out, and we're not a high overall. Now after doing a ton of scouting, I finally put together our recruiting board, and there's a lot of defensive players on here, but nobody's higher than an 85 overall, so there's no major prospects in this first class, and we're projected to be the 45th best team. I don't love it, but I have to trust that we're going to beat UCF in this first matchup, and we lose by 3. So that's not the start I was looking for, and now we face Missouri. I think I'm going to hop into it after refining this recruiting board and removing players that we're not going to land, but when you can only put 500 points on prospects, that turns out to be a lot of people. And I didn't realize that we could already schedule a ton of these players for a visit. With all these 5-stars coming, we really can't lose, because if we do, we'd be off to a terrible start, and I'm supposed to be making the Swamp a hard place to win at again. As time winds down in this first quarter, we're already up by 4, so I feel like we've opened it up well, but it would be really nice to get a touchdown here, and that is what Graham Mertz is not going to do. I mean, he placed this ball exactly where he needed to there, but the rain caused a drop, and here on 3rd and goal, we are going to drop it again. You all know I like to be super aggressive in these rebuilds, so that's what we did, but I wasn't expecting the fake field goal to actually work, and that was the best thing that we could have done because it took all hope away from the Tigers in this game. On 4th and inches to end the first half, we're also going to punch it in, so we should be making a good impression on the visiting recruits, and in the end, we'd win this one by double digits, so there was never a doubt in my mind that we wouldn't come out on top. I'm hoping this allows us to get a lot of commits, but we only signed 3 prospects, with 5-star Josiah Turner being the biggest one, and Jay Davidson went to Auburn. Only being able to go after prospects that are interested in being a Gator definitely limits us, but we have come close on a lot of these guys now, and I'm going to keep scouting high 60 overalls to see if we can find any more gems in this class. It was super rare, but Kel Pert would be a good option for us at tackle, and I already know that we're not beating Texas. It would be a miracle if we could pull it off, but there's a couple other tough matchups we have coming up on our schedule as well, and getting an overtime win over the Longhorns is insane. It's only because Quinn Ewers ended up getting injured, but I can't complain because as of right now, we have a decent chance at winning the SEC. It's going to take a lot more lucky stuff like that happening, but I'm all for it because it's going to get us good commits like this 82 overall, and that's definitely needed since we're starting to fall behind on our top 2 prospects. We might as well do another visit week though, this time against Tennessee, and if I decide to hop into this one, that's going to be the last game we can play besides this Florida State one at the end of the year. I want to say that's not worth it for us and just simulate it, but this is also college game day, so it's time to see if we can have a great start to this 5-year rebuild, and of course it is raining in Florida again. If the game was realistic, this would be going away after 5 minutes, but it's not, so we're gonna have to deal with it all day, and I've always said that I can't stand Graham Mertz, but he's doing pretty well. I did not expect Florida to actually be decent in this first year, but we're about to go up by 14, and as the days gone on, it's just gotten worse and worse for the Tennessee Volunteers. As a Kentucky fan, I don't like either of these teams, so there's really not any winning for me, but at least we're getting off to a good pace in this Gator rebuild, and we're still in the running to actually win the SEC. I think that's going to change since I have to sim the rest of the conference games, but the reason for that is because I want to have a winning record over FSU, and with 3 coach upgrades, we're going to dump all of them into royal treatment. That was enough to pick up 2 additional signees, including this 4-star wide receiver with 94 speed, and now we find ourselves ranked inside the top 25. The only other teams that are undefeated in our division are Georgia Georgia and Alabama. So those will be big matchups, but we're playing my Wildcats first. And I guess I have to root for the Gators and go against my favorite team, but that worked out for us. In real life, Florida's projected to be one of the worst teams in the SEC next year, but we're doing pretty well. And Georgia picked up a loss, so it's just between us and Alabama now. We also have Vandy on our schedule next, so you know what that means. An 85 overall CJ Johnson has locked us out, but we're going to jump right back into that battle. I did some scouting and found a few more gyms as well, so that means we have a couple other targets that we're now going to be going after. And it would be so embarrassing if we lost to winless Vanderbilt, so I'm glad that we won by 31. We would immediately get locked out from CJ Johnson again though, and I don't have another unlock the door available, so we're going to lose that battle, but making the 12-team playoffs is a reality. As of right now, we're also still in the running to win the SEC, so we just need things to continue going our way, and we're going to advance a couple weeks into the future. But we dropped one to the Tigers, and we also lose at Georgia. That really hurts because it's going to throw us down all the way to number 22, and even with Alabama dropping a couple games, the Bulldogs are on top of our division. I think we're about to lose again as well, but we'll see. Maybe we'll come out on top with College Game Day coming to Gainesville, and that was a blowout. For an 81 overall, we're doing really well in Sim, and we're also signing a lot of prospects, as that win over Miami allowed us to pick up even more players since these guys were on visits. But of the 281 overall still on our board, we've been locked out of Cameron Baker, so I need to make sure we get at least one more level into Locksmith, and that way I can guarantee that we still have a decent chance at landing the middle linebacker. With 3 games left on the schedule, I can only hop into one, and I still think it should be the Sunshine Showdown, but we'll see. I might want to hop into that Alabama one instead, and we are going to beat South Carolina. All of a sudden, we're in the running for a spot in the 12-team playoffs again, but we can't win an SEC championship because Georgia beat us and they're 1 game ahead, so it makes sense to sim this one, and I really hope we come out on top of it against Alabama, but they're going to beat us by 3. I had a feeling that would happen, and we didn't get either of the 81 overall linebackers, so that's disappointing, especially since we now have 4 losses, and the playoffs plus an SEC championship are definitely out of reach. The only good that could come from this year is if we beat the Seminoles, and I don't like how everyone's a better overall than us. We've won games in this position before though, so I've got some confidence going into this one as well, and Graham Mertz is just a beast. I never thought that line would come out of my mouth, but he's the only reason we're still in it, and that was a terrible way to end the first half. As you can see, ever since we scored that touchdown, things have not been working out very well for us, including this almost being picked. But the reason for that is our wide receivers are so slow, and if we can't convert on this 4th and 12, it is all over, but we are going to get it. So maybe there is a little bit of hope here in the 4th quarter. Getting them off the field has been a challenge, and here on 3rd and 8, we are not going to get over there. So you can see the issues we've run into, and from that point, they'd run out a ton of clock. So even though we tried, there was no coming back that late into the game. I don't want to lose the Sunshine Showdown again, but the Seminoles are a good team, and the SEC championship ended up being Georgia against Texas. We beat one of those teams, so I am happy about that, but only making the Liberty Bowl isn't great, and our tight end was able to win the John Mackey Award. I'm pretty sure that goes to the best tight end, but these stats weren't that great, and senior quarterback Graham Mertz must have really been slinging the ball. We're also losing senior running back Montreal Johnson, who rushed for 16 touchdowns, so that's a shame, but we have to end this year in style. Losing this bowl game would mean that we'd fall to 7-6, and that's not much different than what Billy Napier's been doing there, so we have to perform better than we did against the Seminoles, but this has been a very low scoring first half. Not picking up a first down there means that we just have to kick this field goal to tie it up, and it's remained that close all the way up until there's just a few minutes left in this game, but we're going down to the 10, so this is our chance to take a lead, and that's what we're going to do. Senior tight end Keon Zippier won an award this season for a good reason, and I'm guessing that they're going to try to hand this off on 3rd and 2, but we're all over it. Now it is 4th and 4. It looks like they are going to try to pass, and we have 2 players over there that are going to get the interception. BYU is not going to beat the Gators in this game, and I might as well just go down. We actually have to pick up one more first to seal it, but that's going to do it, and we're going to end this first season at 8-5. With some of the wins that we had, I think it's a pretty solid year, but what would be really nice is if this recruiting class could stay ranked inside the top 10, and we did have one first-team All-American, but I think that's the only one on this roster that ended up making the cut. We need 3 of them to complete that challenge, so that didn't happen, which is going to be difficult, but what's going to make it even harder is we just lost this left tackle to Troy for playing time, and this 6'8 tackle was set to start this season. The only thing we're lucky about is wide receiver Khalil Jackson didn't declare for the NFL draft early, and he was our 2nd best receiver. But I'm going to stay upset about the fact that we just lost out on that tackle, and nobody wants to transfer in to be a Gator. To finalize this recruiting class, we got locked out of the guard, so we're going to put all our points on Fred Jones, and we'd obviously sign him, but what's important is we finished with a top 10 class, and we did. That means 1 year into this 5-year rebuild, I've at least knocked off one of these challenges, but we still got a lot of work to do, and I was only able to sign 2 players that were higher than an 80 overall. I really don't know how to feel about this class, and I'm going to put Wendell Taylor over at wide receiver, but what determines how good we are is how the player progression goes, and it looks like I'm going to have a really tough decision to make whenever it comes to who starts at QB. I don't even know if Jack Miller's still there in real life, but DJ Lagway's the freshman that's an 82. So I think I want to roll with him even if he's a lower overall. But that was like the only position group that had good progression because some of these other ones are pretty rough. That's why our highest overall halfback's only a 78 overall, and we might as well redshirt Riley Hart. But that's one of the only players that I'm going to have sit out for this season, and there's 6 ranked teams on our schedule going into the year. On the bright side though, the #1 player in the country, this center, wants to come to Florida, and he is an 81 overall. So I figured he'd be a bit better, but the highest rated recruits always end up busting. Right after that, I'd find 3 gems though, including this 90 overall athlete that would be an amazing wide receiver. So we're going to really push for 6'6" Alex Donald. And then I found 2 defensive ends that would both instantly start for us if we were able to land them. With the only players that we're going after being 80 plus overalls, this class legitimately has so much potential, and I'm going to immediately schedule some of these guys for a visit against Miami. They're a little bit better than us, but it is a winnable matchup, and we're not too far off from climbing back inside the top 25 again, so we'll see how this season goes, but the rest of our division's supposed to be pretty good as well. It looks like the main thing we need to do is pass for 250 yards, so we're going to have to do that with our sophomore QB, and I don't know if I'm making the right decision in starting him or not, but I'd like to give him plenty of time to develop, and here on 3rd and 8, they got in pressure so quick against us. DJ Lagway still made the best out of that situation though, and now we're going to score. So I feel like we opened up this game pretty well, even if the Hurricanes did get a field goal on their first drive, because I'm pretty convinced that they're not going to get anything here if we could generate some pressure. Luckily for us, as we get closer to halftime, we've had no issues scoring, so we're on the verge of taking a 2-possession lead here, and they are about to knock it down. It might be best to just keep it on the ground though, and KD Daniels, the freshman's going to go down at the 1, so we can run 30 more seconds off before just punching it in. However, they're saying he was short, so we have to go for it on 4th and inches, and that's enough. I feel like we did the right thing redshirting him last season, because he was one of the main reasons we had so much offensive success, and here in the 4th quarter, this one's over. That was literally the best debut our sophomore QB could have had, as he threw for over 300 yards and 4 TDs, which caused 88 overall DeAndre Robinson to commit to Florida. We're just 2 seasons in, and we've already completed our 2nd challenge, but even with that in mind, I'd still like to land prospects like athlete Alex Donald, and now we're going on the road to play at Arkansas. But before we finish the rest of this Florida rebuild, a word from Rocket Money, today's video sponsor, which just saved me from wasting a ton of money. I really enjoy watching new shows like the new Fallout series that just came out, but then I start memberships for sites that I will never use again, and until I got Rocket Money, I had no idea that I was subscribed to so many different services. Their app made it super simple for me to see where all of my money was going, and they were also super helpful whenever it came to figuring out how to cancel subscriptions. Before I'd ever promote any sponsor to you all, I always test it out to see if it's actually good, and ever since I was made aware of Rocket Money, I've been using it consistently. Realistically, I know that careers in this field don't last long, so it's important that I have a budget, and the personal finance app allows you to manage your subscriptions, lower your bills, make a custom budget, and even grow your savings all in one place. Rocket Money also has a free trial available if you use my link, so if you want to take control of your finances today and join the over 5 million members that Rocket Money already has, go to rocketmoney.com/Bordeaux or click the first link in my description to get started for free. If you do, you're probably going to be surprised by a subscription or 2 that you had no idea was still active, but now let's get back to rebuilding the Florida Gators. I'm pretty confident that we're going to come out on top of this one, but they beat us by 10, and DJ Lagway must have gotten hurt if he didn't play this entire game. I don't see him on the injury report, which is a really good thing, but our schedule's not going to be any easier for a while, so at least we signed 3 more prospects, including AJ Drone and Alex Donald. Besides being a wide receiver, this guy could also play on defense, so that might turn out to be what we have to use him for, because Kalani Nixon is not going to choose our school over Georgia. We can also schedule a lot of these players on a visit against Texas this week, but I need to do a little bit more scouting first, and this linebacker's an 85 overall. I also can't overlook the fact that we can now dump 700 points into each prospect, so theoretically we should be winning a lot of these different recruiting battles, and I think we've set ourselves up really well for the future. Against Texas, we're going to lose by 30 though, which is not what I thought would happen there, and this is going to be even tougher. It looks like we're about to fall to 1-3, but we have a young quarterback that still needs to develop, so that can't be too big of a deal, and we're just going to have to accept that we already stand 0 chance at making the SEC championship. That's wild to me because our overall went up by 5, but it's always been tough on this game to have success in the SEC, and we have 2 bye weeks coming up, but we lose to Kentucky. So coming out on the other side of things, we're lucky to not be the worst team in our division. It is week 8 and we have not won a conference game yet, so I'm getting close to being on the hot seat, and I don't get how we were so much better in sim last year compared to this season. At least we finally got one result that helps us, and the signings have clearly continued to flood in over the weeks, but we would lose out on one halfback, the lowest overall one, to Tennessee, and I'm literally unfazed by it because we're getting closer to landing these 2 defensive beasts as well. I scheduled a visit week against Vanderbilt, which I might actually want to play in now, so we're just going to skip over the Georgia game where they beat us by 28 and enjoy the fact that we landed another 85 plus player in Jared Roundtree. We didn't even have to hop into the one against the Commodores yet, who are doing a little bit better than us, But we're hosting this and we're the higher overall team, so theoretically we know how this one should go, and we lose by 10. I'm really about to get fired just 2 years in, and we better get this win on the road at South Carolina. The reason for that is because after them we play #1 Alabama and then Florida State. So there's a lot that's still on the line, but at least this recruiting class is looking like one of the best ones I've ever seen. Even using Fang's recruiting mod, I think we're going to finish up here at #1, and that's a big surprise, but it should help us in the future. Almost every game we popped into though, it has been raining, with this one being no different, and we seriously have to come out on top of this one. On 3rd and 10, we didn't get the pick though, and they're probably going to get a touchdown from here. All of the routes on the screen are also shaking for DJ Lagway because he is a young quarterback, but we're going to get past midfield, and we've continued to work it against the Gamecocks where we have a backup in. Marcus Smith fought hard to make sure he got into the end zone there, but we're without a lot of starters, including KD Daniels, who's out with an ACL sprain. If that's been going on all season, it would make sense why we've struggled a little bit, but we're starting to do better, and it's almost like I just had to hop into a game or two to fix this team. I'll make sure to keep that in mind for the future 3 seasons, because we went on too long of a losing streak, but South Carolina is about to score to end this first half and hold on to the ball. We had a great opportunity there, but instead we blew it, and I am super upset about that. Now we have to make sure Sellers doesn't get in, and there's a lot of pressure on the line with this 3rd and goal. He's trying to run, and he is stopped short. I'm a little bit surprised that they're not going for it here, but the Gamecocks are playing scared versus us, and I don't know why, because this is one of the first times this season that we've actually looked good. My only hope is when we play Florida State, we perform like this, because we need to have a winning record versus them in the rebuild, and my guess is we're not going to beat Alabama next week. They're coming into this game as a 97 overall, so there really isn't much hope for us here, and we're just going to advance the week, and we lose by 17. We didn't perform very well in SEC play, going 2-7, but currently the Seminoles are 3-8, so we are favored to win the Sunshine Showdown. These 3 recruiting battles are also set to just go into the off season, so this matchup's all we have left to worry about in season 2, because it's impossible for us to make a bowl game. The Seminoles would get the first points, but ever since then we've been driving down the field. This is a great run from Lagway, and from here KD Daniels can just finish it off. Brock Glenn is the guy that we have to beat right now, and they did toast us deep right there. Glenn is going to take the sack though, so we're looking very good, but Florida State scored the next 10 points on us, and ever since then we've struggled offensively. If anything, I've noticed that Lagway can be pretty inconsistent, but he's going to complete this pass at least, and I hope he ends up staying for all 3 years that he still has left. Right after that touchdown though, Florida State would score again, so we find ourselves trailing by 7 points, and that's a great move. Khalil Jackson might have made the wrong decision in returning since we haven't been great, but it's nice to have him for this game, because now we find ourselves in a 21-21 game against the Seminoles, and we get the stop. We just set ourselves up to have the final drive, but they've gotten us to a 3rd and 19 where they're running man-to-man coverage, and they're not going to stick with Burke. A few plays later, we are on another 3rd down, but our drag should help us pick it up, and I really wish that we didn't continue to get into all of these situations, but now we are in a little bit of trouble unless KD Daniels can make an amazing move, and he is gone down inside the 5. I didn't like the idea of checking it down there, but now we can just make sure we settle for a field goal, and there's nothing Florida State can do. We're going to come out on top. That's going to tie up the series at 1-1 in this rebuild, which is needed since we have to have a winning record in the Sunshine Showdown, and DJ Lagway led us to victory. I didn't even redshirt him last season, but the game automatically did, so we could have him for the rest of this rebuild, which would be incredible since he turned out to be our #1 rusher on this team. As for our wide receivers, they're a bit older, being juniors and seniors, but we've been working on recruiting replacements, and there was no way that this team was going to have any first-team All-Americans on it, so at the end of season number 2, this is what the challenges list is looking like. My job security is low, but I haven't been fired yet, and I know that we're set to lose a lot of good starters, but I feel like I've set us up pretty well for the future. I don't understand why Jack Miller III was drafted, because he didn't even start for us, but that's what having 87 overalls can do for you, so I really need us to land Matthew Foreman. I clearly distributed our points pretty well, because we got the 2 guys that we wanted, and we finished with the #1 class in the country. I think by the time we get to year number 5, all 3 of these top guys could end up being 99 overalls, but that screen lied to us, because once I moved over to this screen, their overalls all dropped by 1 or 2. Either way, we should be fine though, with this kid being an 87 overall free safety, and Darnell Sales is going to be moved over to halfback where he's an 83. We have a super young room here, so I'm assuming at least one of these players is going to transfer out, but we don't know their true overalls until we get through player progression, and I'm not going to lie, this was pretty disappointing to see, because most players only improved by 1 or 2 overalls. At the end of the day, we might as well just start true freshman Darnell Sales, and we're going to have to start cutting some other guys as well. If we can just win on the road at Miami, our schedule isn't that tough to start the year until the Tennessee game, and just by taking a look at the championship contender page, I know that we're going to be pretty good in the future, but the real issue we run into is we play in the toughest conference in the country, so we have to keep recruiting well, especially since we're going to need to fill in some of these positions. Just by judging off of the top 3s that we're in, there's a lot of 5 stars that we're going to have a chance to get, and it's going to be hard to get Rod Callaway away from Penn State, but he would be a great replacement if DJ Lagway leaves this early. We also need a kicker of some sort, but this guy dropped by 55 overalls. And at the end of the day, it's going to be hard to put together a class that's better than what we had last year, but I'm happy with the prospects on our board. Now I just have to hope we have a better season as an 88 overall team, but after taking a look at the team overalls of the other colleges in our conference, that might not happen. Like I said, we just need to get through these first few games, but we lose to Miami, and now I feel the need to step into this one versus Arkansas because I'm currently on the hot seat, and I can schedule some of these guys that I'd like to have on the team for a visit already. We only have 3 years left in this rebuild, and DJ Lagway could leave at any time, so that's why I really want to land Rod Callaway, because the quarterback's a 5-star and an 85 overall, which means he could slot in and play almost just as well as DJ. We're also already struggling against the Razorbacks, proving why I needed to play this, and I thought that would make a difference, but maybe not, because currently we are losing this one 21-0, and it's about to be 28. We have to get this stop on 3rd and 1, and we do, but it's still not looking very good for us, and I can't believe how much we have struggled to get points in this game, but their defense has been good. They'd literally follow up that stop with another touchdown, making it 31-0, so we've pretty much lost all hope. And there's just 10 seconds left in the first half now. They've gone with man-to-man coverage though, so we had somebody open. I'm gonna run the same play again, and Hayden Hansen gets it within 24. I don't think I've ever come back from being down by 31 points in NCAA football, but I'm gonna try my best because we need to land that QB, and we're going for the 2-point conversion where I'm gonna try to step up with Lagway. Here on 3rd and 10, I'm gonna try to send in a blitz, but they had way too much time to get that ball out against us, and can we please just make a tackle? This has been a disaster. We're not gonna bring them down in time, and they're inside our red zone. I'm literally so upset with how we've performed in this one, but once again, we could get them off the field down inside the goal line, and they have to kick a field goal. It looks like on 3rd and 8, they are gonna go with the cover 2, so Lagway just needs to hit his target here, and Wilson the third is gonna be gone to the house, but we're still trailing by 2 possessions, and I haven't been able to stop them. I'm stuck on the defensive tackle now. They came into this game with the #1 offense in the country, and this is another disaster. They have an open field run to the 20, which led to a touchdown, and it's just taking us way too long to score again. I mean, don't get me wrong, that was an absolute laser, but now we still have to get them off the field twice and then also score 2 more touchdowns. So with 1 more first down, this one's already gonna be over, and can we please just bring them down? I thought our defense was really good, but I ended up being wrong, and now it's 3rd and 1 where they decided to throw the ball, but we got the sack. There's still 2 minutes left, so there is a little bit of hope, and we really need a good kick return from Hawkins here, which he gets for us. With only 1 timeout left, we are gonna have to score super quick on this drive, but I want to pull off my first 31-point comeback so bad, and I cannot believe that we got tackled inbounds there. That is not good. They also somehow swatted it down, so the computer's just going off on Heisman mode, and there's only so much I can do. It almost feels like we have to try to get the onside kick against them, and I'm gonna kick it super short where they are gonna catch it, and we need to lay the hammer, but somehow they broke free. This game's already over. We put them in field goal range, and by the time we get the ball back, there's nothing that we're gonna be able to do. They're also just breaking tackles, and that is the summary of the day. I don't know how they didn't give them the first there, but I was gonna take it until they picked it up, and we're gonna fall just short of having a chance. I was actually convinced that we were about to pull off a comeback, but instead Malachi Singleton now owns us, and I was so upset with how that went, but you'll notice a certain name isn't up here because Rod Callaway committed even though we lost, and I don't know how. That's crucial since I'm probably gonna have to restart my head coach, and I swear we better not lose to USF. If we can't take the Bulls down, I literally would have no words, but we beat them by 7, and things were looking up until we got the 73 overall tight end instead of the 83 overall one. I'm not gonna act like I'm thrilled about it, but we're gonna schedule everybody for a visit against Tennessee, and this is our chance to really redeem ourselves. I know we've already lost a conference game, but it was to a team that's not in our division, so if somehow we magically won out, we would make it to the SEC championship, and it all starts against number 14 Tennessee. With how I played in the second half versus Arkansas, I am pretty confident coming into this one, and that throw is gonna be dropped, but it's okay. They played good D, and we already scored 1 touchdown, so we're doing just fine. On this 3rd and 10, they're gonna pick it up though, and I'm gonna blame my bad user on my jam finger. I was playing pickup the other day, and I swear I've never had it as purple as it is right now, but I can't use that as an excuse for losing, because even though it's uncomfortable, we should still be able to get stops, and you've got to catch that ball. That was the freshman that we just recruited. Now it is 3rd and goal. They have way too much time back there, and this is going to be a very long game against Tennessee. With 25 seconds left in the half now, we do find ourselves trailing by 4 points, but I am going to try to bomb them deep, and they've been locking down all of our wide receivers. It's been very impressive, but I noticed the cover too, so we're starting to put something together when we need to the most, and now we're going to throw an interception straight to them. I'm definitely not happy about that, but we stopped them, and we could hold them to just 3 here, so that would be a pretty good way to open up this 3rd quarter if we could hold them. They'd score again after that, and we're just not good enough to beat teams like this right now, so I should have known better than to make this our visit week, and DJ Lagway looks so sad over there on the bench. I don't know who Todd Griffin is, but I'm sick of him, and Nico must have already left for the NFL, but this guy's only a 76. To my surprise though, there are still some yellow names on this list, so it's not like this recruiting class is is going that terribly for us, especially since we're in the lead for almost every single one of these prospects, including Jake Halladay. But we have to close these battles out, especially since I need these guys to move them over to cornerback. My Wildcats are sitting at 0-3, so theoretically we should cruise to an easy win against them, and we do. That was needed, but I didn't expect it to get Jake Halladay to commit. And this JUCO linebacker I hadn't even scouted yet until this week ended up being an 85 overall. That was probably one of the best surprises because our class keeps getting better, but I don't think we're going to come out on top against LSU. If we did, it would probably save my job, but they're 4-1, it's on the road, and I have to save the last game that we can jump into to be against Florida State. I can't say the year's going bad though, because each week we sign like 3 more guys. And to be honest, if we didn't get some of these prospects that are still on there, I wouldn't really care. Nate James is the only name that still matters because he can play wide receiver, but then I went back and checked the core that we already have, and a lot of these guys are going to be with us for the rest of this 5-year rebuild, so we don't even need him, and it's time to sim a bit. I want to play against Florida State. I'm expecting to get fired, and I don't think we're going to make the SEC championship, so we can legitimately take this one all the way to week 14, and at Vanderbilt we win by 4. I think our season's still over, but we did beat the Tigers as well, and the only way I'm stopping this sim is if we won on the road at Georgia, but we lost by 7. 2 more losses means we're no longer bowl eligible for the 2nd season in a row, and the SEC is literally so good on this file, we're going to drop it to Bama, which means there's no way I have a job next year, but at least we signed all these players. I hate having to restart as a level 3 head coach, but their athletic director expecting me to have 11 wins is a bit ridiculous, and I'm doing the best I can. We're an 88 overall. I mean, we've literally signed every prospect remaining on our board, so I don't know what else I could do. And the only injuries we were dealing with all year were to our offensive line. It's weird we're taking steps back since year number 1, but I have a feeling our final 2 seasons are going to go really well, and I don't think that DJ Lagway can declare for the NFL draft knowing how bad of a year we had. Getting him back would be super nice since he should be like a 95 overall, and most of our defense will be returning as well, which we've worked hard on building. So we'll see how it all ends up panning out for us. Florida State would open up the second half with a touchdown, which doesn't help our odds here, but at least we've gotten inside their red zone, and Sales takes it to the crib. He's another player that we're going to have to rely on to develop, and I wish the Seminoles would stop doing so well versus us. They've set themselves up for so many field goals. So going into the 4th quarter, we are trailing in this one by 9 points, and we've got to catch this one-on-one, which we do. Tank Hawkins is a 5'9" wide receiver, but it didn't matter. And here on 3rd and 9, I know that they're going to try to go for something like a vertical where Dono comes away with the ball. This is the 6'6" athlete that we moved over to safety, and that was the craziest pick 6 I've ever had. We even got the 2-point conversion, so now the pressure is really on for the Seminoles, and we're going to get another pick. The freshmen are starting to step up, and just imagine how good they're going to be by the time they reach junior year. I have been waiting to get stops like that throughout this entire day, and now we're starting to celebrate a bit early. You could say it's premature, but I'd say that we're already in field goal range at this point, so even if they do stop us, we'd end up going up by 3 possessions, and I'm going to take that hitch to White all day. That's going to seal the game as we are going to take down the Seminoles, and it's definitely not nice to end the season 5-7, but I just know that these final 2 years have to be good. We might not have a Heisman contender, but we're set up for success, because even though there's still not a single first-team All-American, we should have DJ Lagway coming back for his junior year, and if he can limit the turnovers while continuing to run it this well, our offense is going to be really good, but we have to replace our 2 best senior receivers. I didn't meet expectations though, so I did get fired, which means I'm going down to being a level 3 head coach, and without winning bowl games, Florida's only a 3-star school. The expectations here are only as high as they are because of when this game came out, but I am afraid a new coach could cause issues, causing some of our juniors to leave early or transfer out, which is why I'm surprised that both Aaron Gates and DJ Lagway stayed. We're also losing a ton of seniors, but nobody to the transfer portal. So if anything, our overall should stay at least an 88 overall, and that's good since recruiting just became a lot harder again. I highly doubt that our next class is going to look as good as this one does, but at least we got to enjoy competing for the #1 spot for a few seasons, and now I get to move all of these athletes around to the positions that fit them best, which should be great. I think Carol Lamb's going to end up starting at strong safety for us, while Sky Daniels is going to be moved over to cornerback as well, and the same goes for Woody Patterson, which really fills all of our needs there. Nate James is more of a wide receiver as he comes in at an 82 overall, and it's time to see just how much every one of our guys improved. I was hoping Aaron Gates would jump up a little bit more, but this is about what I was expecting, and that's desperately needed if this is what the preseason rankings are going to look like. They'd change up a little bit, but we still have 4 top 10 teams on our schedule, and with only 2 seasons left in the rebuild, there's no reason to redshirt anybody. In fact, at this point, I'm not even sure there's a starting position that I need to recruit for, but just in case there is, I'll go through all the position groups one by one. If anything, maybe we could use a higher overall tight end, but that's about it, and we gotta really lock in to complete these final 4 challenges. Now, one thing I've never seen on Fang's recruiting mod is a 98 overall player. So even if we have almost 0 chance at getting this kid, I have to see what his true overall is, and he still dropped by 10. That should have been expected, and I really wish I didn't get fired so I had a better chance at landing some of these prospects. flex, but that probably won't happen, so at least we're a 93 overall, and we better finish higher than 38th in the country. I mean, at least our future outlook has us finishing as the number 2, number 1, and number 1 best team, but this is a 5-year rebuild, so we only have 2 more seasons to step things up, and to open up the year against UCF, we are going to win by 28. That was expected though, and Hunter Ince's already locked us out, but we do have a good opportunity to pick up this 87 overall, and having a linebacker with 96 tackle can't hurt. To really seal the deal though, we need him to visit against Miami this week, and this time we're in a good position to come out on top. I mean, we have some huge names coming for this one, and to be honest, I can normally win a championship with a team like this because we're a 93 overall, but playing in the SEC worries me. When you can only hop into 3 games a season, sim can really mess you up, so we'll see how the entire year unfolds, and I gotta go for the one-on-one ball there. I don't know how Ty White was able to come down with it, but I can't complain, and this is the type of stuff we weren't doing in previous years. Our defense shouldn't have let them get this far down the field though, so we need to hold them, which we are about to do, and it would have been even better if we caught that ball. I like what I've seen out of this roster so far, but we still have a long season ahead because injuries could happen, and that is a bad pass. I moved some punter over to kicker though, so we should be able to get a field goal here, and from that moment forward, we never looked back as Miami just couldn't keep up with us. This team is honestly so good, but it's mainly because we have DJ Lagway again, and that's the effect of having a 97 overall in our lineup. I'm assuming at some point he's going to end up in the Heisman race, where I just noticed that Arch Manning transferred to Baylor on this file, and we might not have gotten this guard, but we got both Justin Rose and Tooney Peterson to sign for us. To be honest, we could be even better next season, but it would be much more ideal if we could just make a title run during this year, and are you kidding? We were 5 overalls better than them. We shouldn't have lost there, and now we're up against Tennessee on the road, but we are favored, so we should be able to bounce back, especially since they've already lost 2 games, and what the heck? I'm telling you, these 5-year rebuilds are so brutal because you have no idea what'll happen in sim, and I have to choose which of the 2 games I'm going to jump into the rest of the year, even though there's 4 ranked teams on our schedule and FSU. I am not happy, but now we're playing Kentucky, and there's no way we're about to be on a 3-game losing streak. We should win, but it was very close, so if I were any of these guys, I wouldn't want to come to our school either, and all that we've picked up recently is a 77 overall. We can schedule all these guys for a visit week though whenever we face off against number 9 Georgia, and a win in a game like that, plus against Alabama, is our only shot at making it to the SEC championship. The problem is we have stuff like this coming up first, and LSU's only been able to beat 1 ranked team, but I just know that they're going to be favored against us. We're also starting to lose out on more prospects to other teams in our conference, which isn't that surprising, and I just need to get the pain over with already. We're going to advance to the next week, and that's what I thought would happen. Unless we like win out or something, we're not going to make it to the playoffs, but we're still supposed to be the number 1 team next year, which is just nuts to me, and thankfully we get a big result. We needed that so bad since we're probably not picking up either of these guys, and I just realized our free safeties are going to be so tall with Blake Anthony being 6'5". We already have 6'6" Alex Donald, so that's great, but if we're going to redeem ourselves, it's going to come here, and it's pretty much impossible to make it to the SEC championship, but we could still somehow make it to the playoffs. A 9-3 SEC team would definitely be good enough, but in order to make that happen, we still have to win out, and this is a neutral game every year, so I don't know how we were able to have visits for this one, but who is that at QB? It's Trevor Hames. I don't know why he's out there, but that's a bit concerning. And how have both Rod Callaway and DJ Lagway gotten hurt during sim? No wonder we've been struggling. Our 2 best options at quarterback have been hurt, and it makes a lot of sense. With that in mind, I don't know how we're going to come out on top in this game, but we've held them to just a field goal here, and I still can't believe we are on our 3rd stringer right now. We need to complete this though, and they were able to swat it down. If we don't get like a pick 6 or something, they're probably going to run away with this one, but we stopped them. And then we fumbled the punt, they scored a touchdown, and they're about to get another. You can't even make something up like that. We're just not getting lucky whenever we desperately need to, and give us that. AJ Drone is known for dropping picks, and I shouldn't even be surprised that he just did that. They're about to score again here, so you already know how this one's gonna go. And it's not fair. They have their starting quarterback. This is one of our toughest games of the year, and we've had to play it with a 3rd stringer. And at the same time, we've also been missing our starting running back. It's a miracle we even have a chance with a few minutes remaining, but we have to pick up this 3rd and 4, and I was just patient. So we got what we needed there, but we still have a lot of work to do, and this isn't good. Here on 2nd and 16, it's man-to-man coverage again, and that's literally all they've had to run to stop us, but we do have an open receiver, and that is a great throw. James is going to take it to the crib, so Nate James, the freshman, might have just saved us, but we're going to have to stop them a few times first as well, and on this first play, we should have gotten the pick. I don't know why, but I didn't expect them to throw the ball, and I didn't think they'd do it again on this next one. We need to knock them out of bounds, but they just shed the tackle, and from here, I think we have to let them take it in. After that happened, I don't think there's any coming back, but we might as well just throw up a 50-50 ball to see what happens, and look at how good their cornerbacks are against us. We still get the catch, but even our best wide receivers have gotten no separation all day, and there was literally 0 time there. Now we're just going to immediately get it out, which led to one of their defensive backs making an insane play, and now it's 4th and 27, so this one's all over unless we get lucky again, but we are not going to. We tried tried our best, but we were playing with a third stringer. So we're about to miss the playoffs with a 93 overall team. And if I'm remembering right, when I rebuilt Vanderbilt a couple of months ago, it was not this difficult. I might not have used all the mods that I'm using in this one though, and you would think the higher overall recruits in Fang's recruiting mod would have helped us have success earlier, but it hasn't, and I feel like there's almost no reason to jump into any other games this season. We gave up 69 points. I have never seen a team put up numbers like this during Sim. How does that happen? And even worse, Sellers did this against a 95 overall defense. We scored 49 points and lost by 20 because the SEC is insane, and we're about to play Alabama, who's the #1 team in the country. I'd rather face off against Florida State to get a winning record versus them. So we're gonna sim that one. And did Nebraska really beat us out for a prospect? That's a bad decision from that 5-star. Let's go ahead and advance it to week 14, where we actually won by 5. You're telling me we lost all those games early in the year, but then we come out on top of that. And that's the only win we're taking since this tackle decided on going to Georgia. We might have actually made the playoffs if we just didn't have one of those dumb losses. And even though the Seminoles are sitting at 6-5, they are still a 91 overall team. DJ Lagway's still injured as well. But that just made me realize one really big thing. Since he's barely played this year, I might be able to convince him to come back for his senior season. And I literally see him out there on the field in Jersey for the coin toss. But he's not willing to play, and that is why Callaway's in at QB right now. Having him is much better than a third stringer though, as we're about to score already, and winning this means we'd have a winning record no matter what versus the Seminoles. It's nice to see Darnell Sales back from injury as well, but we only have one more year to complete all these challenges, and our best season was year #1. I knew this rebuild was going to be difficult, and it's going to come down to the wire, but at least I'm seeing that even with a half-healthy team, we're doing so well. And I don't know how you dropped that ball there, but we're just going to settle for 3. The same defense that gave up 69 points to South Carolina is currently carrying us, and at the end of the day, we're going to beat the Seminoles to improve to 3-1 versus them. If there's anything we can take away from this season, we completed another challenge, but we still have these other 3 to deal with, and I hope Darnell Sales is this good every game next season. I could see him winning the Heisman Trophy like the Ohio State running back just did, and this is going to be such an easy bowl game for us. We are going to finish the season well short of making it to the playoffs, but Alabama did too, losing 3 games in a row and finishing at number 16. We didn't have any All-Americans on this first team list, which is a bit disappointing, but we shouldn't have, at least at the quarterback position, because we had 3 different guys start for us, and junior running back Marcus Smith had to take over for Darnell Sales whenever he got injured. As for our receivers, they did really good for having to deal with a lot of different QBs, but their numbers weren't anything crazy, and I'm sure that AJ Jerome didn't catch any picks. Let's just go out and finish the season strong, because we need a lot of momentum going into next season, and I really hope I can convince DJ Lagway to come back. I know they're a weaker opponent, but the second that he's in a lineup, we're just dominating, and we might legitimately score on every single offensive drive in this game. To end the half though, our defense has to make sure that it's able to hold strong versus Southern Miss, and they're now on a 3rd and 30, so there's no way that they pick this up, as we are going to get the interception with Gates. That's exactly what I was looking for, and even if they got a field goal to start the 3rd quarter, I don't think that it's really going to matter. I mean, we're able to thread the needle wherever we want to, and it's already over, but one more touchdown would definitely do it for us, which we pick up here. Ty White's been our best receiver that we've seen all over the place, and we better not have a bad season in year #5. I think we'll be good whether or not DJ Lagway comes back, and realistically, it would make sense for him to return after getting injured. So even though he is trying to declare, I'm going to go ahead and tell him that he's going to win the Heisman if he comes back, and he is willing to stay now. That was all it took. He didn't want to join Cameron James and Aaron Gates in the NFL yet, and you already know that I'm going to make sure we bring in this 89 overall. For not having a good head coach, I am shocked that we finished with a #2 class, but I guess it worked out for us, and some of these signees are amazing. We're definitely going to have a lot more defensive backs than I was ever expecting, but that side of the ball is now covered, and so are our wide receivers. If this goes well, it might be the highest overall team I've ever put together in a 5-year rebuild, and I'm not seeing any negative overalls, so I am very happy with how this turned out. We're going into our final year now, so I don't need any of the points that are in the recruiting skill tree, but I'm not that high overall of a head coach, so this doesn't help us much, and I just have to hope that Sim goes in our favor, because as the season goes on, our schedule gets worse and worse. I am a little surprised that DJ Lagway is not up in the Heisman running to start the season, but that's probably because we're not even supposed to make it to the SEC championship, and I'm just relieved that as I've scrolled through these top 10 teams, we're the highest overall one on the board. If we lose and Sim is a 99 overall, Florida's just cursed, and the only thing that really worries me is because I got fired, our coordinators aren't good. We could also end up dealing with some injuries, but I think it's best if we just start the Sim process now, and if we can put up 62 every week, I think we're going to be just fine. Ole Miss has already lost 2 games, so I'm expecting to beat them, and then after that, we have Tennessee and Kentucky, so we might as well just go straight to the LSU one. But I am a little nervous for this one against the Volunteers, and they beat us by 18. I swear, if we lose to Kentucky as well, I would lose my mind. And now we've already been humbled once, but at least we're a higher higher overall than the Tigers. I've decided that I'm going to change up our playbook because running the air raid normally works best for me. And we better figure things out quick because if we lose another SEC game, we're not making it to the conference championship. The rest of this schedule looks brutal, but I think I'm going to have to hop into the LSU one, the Georgia one, and the Alabama one. So we'll see how it all turns out, but nobody's injured yet at least. I'm honestly pretty confident going into this one, but that's only because our roster is literally insane. And any game that's not decided by sim, I expect myself to come out on top of. This is 3rd and 15. I can't even tell where they're at, but eventually we were going to get the sack. And so far, we've had no issues whenever it comes to driving down the field. So it looks like we're about to open up this game in the right way, but they baited us into an interception, and I cannot believe I fell for that. I really don't know what I was thinking there, but we're going to get another sack. So they punted it back to us again, and this time I have to make sure that I don't make any mistakes. That's a good run, but we still have some work to do, and I'm just going to take it over to the flat because they weren't picking it up. Now on 2nd and 4, that zone is not going to stick to our tight end. So we scored first, but they're very close to responding back. Luckily for us, though, it might only be a field goal because our defense has done a pretty good job up until this play, and the refs are saying that they were half a yard short. I can't believe that they're not going for it, but that's going to help us out a ton because we're still up by 4 and we're very close to going up by 11 if we're able to get into the end zone. I probably shouldn't have gone straight at him, but DJ Lagway made sure not to fumble it. And because of how well our defense played, the longer that this one went on for them, the worse that it got. I mean, they've made some good plays themselves like that, but we're still bound to do something like reach the end zone on this drive, which we do right here. And I'm enjoying using a team as good as ours right now. I'm a little nervous that we're going to lose some more games during sim, but as long as that doesn't happen, we should make the playoffs. And even though we're going on the road against Vanderbilt, this should be a freebie. They're currently 0-6, so they have not improved over this 5-year span at all. And of course, this is the one season that Auburn's good. I've never seen them climb up this far in our sims, but they just have to make our division even tougher, and it looks like every team in it's already lost a game. We need Tennessee to lose another, though, if we're going to make it to the SEC championship since they have a tiebreaker over us. And I cannot believe how brutal the rest of our schedule looks for this season. As long as we don't lose another game, we're going to be the best one-loss team in the country, but we're about to be challenged on the road at Georgia. Never mind, I forgot that this game is always in Jacksonville, and I brought out the swamp green jerseys for the first time. They might be hideous, but as long as we're able to move it down the field and score a lot of points, I really don't care. We're going to juke out 2 players, and from here we should be able to keep things on the ground, but they're all over our running attempt. The Bulldogs have already gotten a field goal, which means we need to get some sort of points here, and it has been a very defensive game. They're going to send in a blitz, but we're going to roll out and throw it up to Hawkins. I know that he can outrun number 46, and that is what he has done on this play is he has gone to the crib. I think he's got like 95 speed, which is really all that we need. On 3rd and 10, I wish they would throw it straight to Jerome, but they took the check down. So now they're just going to attempt a field goal. And I'd assume that they have a kicker that can hit this down the middle. That would get it within a possession, and it's been like that throughout the entire 3rd quarter. So to start the 4th, we're going to need to step up. And I feel like our defense normally does a pretty good job of doing that whenever a team gets into our red zone. Now it is 3rd and 3 though, and I decided to send a blitz, which just did not get in. So things were tied up until we drove it all the way down the field and reached the end zone. I'm really trusting our defense to end this one for us, and we went with man-to-man coverage, but Holiday just got toasted by Macer there, and that was a filthy route from the wide receiver. I normally don't point him out or show him in replay, but this was disgusting. There was so much separation created throughout the entire thing, and unless we somehow stop them, they're about to score again, which they got off of a one-handed grab from the same wide receiver that made a great catch early on. That's also underthrown to them, so they easily could have had a pick there, and I would be so dumb to throw it up like that again. They're about to get the sack. Lagway is escaping the pocket though, and I will definitely take a run like that. With a minute left, the pressure's really on now, and they're sticking to our wide receivers like glue. So I'm hoping that they go with some zone coverage on 3rd and 10, and that's exactly what they went with. Our kicker on this team can hit from pretty far, so we are pretty much already in field goal range. But this has also been one of the toughest defenses that I've ever played against in a dynasty. So after that completion, we're not going to throw the ball again. As time winds down now, we're just going to kick this one, and it is good. So we won in these ugly swamp jerseys, and now we have to take down the number 1 team. I don't know why I put them on the schedule. Miami wasn't available, so I didn't have a choice, but we still scored a ton. And there's a reason that DJ Lagway's leading the way for the Heisman race. He's gotten the Gators ranked above 2 teams that are undefeated, and Tennessee lost 2 games, so we are in control of the SEC at least for now. We still have to beat South Carolina and Alabama, which I am a little bit worried about, but we're just going to hope for the best, advance to week 13, and we won by a ton. That win moved us back in the college football playoffs polls though, and how is UCLA above us since we beat them? I never will get the rankings on this game, game, but we have to beat Alabama in this matchup, because if we do, we'll be locked into the SEC championship. But the Crimson Tide have a really good team, and we have to go into their home stadium to beat them. A minute into the game, we've gotten off to a pretty good start as we've already flown down to the 5-yard line, but we still have to make sure we reach the end zone, and that's gonna not happen here. After they almost picked that one off, I'd rather just hand it off instead, and I hope that they bite on 3rd and goal, but that works too. Throughout the entire first half though, the Crimson Tide have kept up with us, so now it's sitting at 14-all, and we should be able to get another touchdown, but I don't want to force it into any window, so we're gonna take off with DJ using his legs and getting to the 5. I tried to make it all the way to the end zone, but it didn't happen, and now we've left Alabama 51 seconds. I'm not gonna be happy if they're able to get even a field goal out of this, but we're trying our best, and they're gonna break that one tackle, but not get much further, so this is the final play of the first half, and we get the sack. I'm pretty happy with how things have gone so far in this game, but because they've responded back to our scores so well, we have to make sure that we get a stop again, and what was that throw off of the back foot? I mean, it didn't work out for them, but it easily could have. It is now 3rd and 14. I'm gonna try to bomb them deep, and we actually pulled it off. The issue is we dropped the ball at the same time, and then they scored, so it's 21-all. We're gonna go with the halfback screen on 3rd down, and they are all over it. A championship certainly isn't gonna be as easy as I thought, just seeing how we've competed against these better programs, and we should have gotten them off the field on 3rd down. So I'm hoping that this time I don't get stuck clicked on to the wrong guy, and it looks like we are gonna leave somebody open again. I've had enough. We're running strictly man-to-man coverage, and we're gonna get the interception with Daniels off of the screen. So that's an amazing way to end the 3rd quarter, and if we can pull this off, it's gonna be getting even worse for the Crimson Tide. It was only a matter of time before Ty White was able to break free like that, and I'm confident we have the talent to bomb defenses whenever we want to, but I wasn't sure how our defense would respond to that 1st down running attempt, and that's a bad throw. I think Alabama's gonna struggle to get more than a field goal here, but they threw a laser, and they said his foot was out of bounds. This is literally massive. They're choosing to be behind by 4 points, and we're only gonna need a few 1st downs to seal it. It's so nice having a team with no injuries, but they are playing defense to stop the run, so we're gonna mix things up, decide to pass the ball, and that is going to work perfectly. That was all we'd need in order to win this game. So we're on a roll, and the Crimson Tide fans look so upset. They're one of the highest overall teams in the country, so I didn't want to see them in the playoffs, and all we have to do now is end the year with one more win. We've already had a winning record in the Sunshine Showdown, but I'd love to beat them one final time, and that win has moved us up to number 3 in the country, but we're gonna have to come out on top of the SEC championship if we want Lagway to win the Heisman. It's against Texas A&M, who's ranked number 6, so they've had a good year, but they're not better than us, and I really want a 1st round bye in the playoffs. So far, things seem to be looking pretty good as we are close to finishing this drive off if we don't take a sack. And once we get down this far, I always get so nervous about making reads because I've thrown so many interceptions down here. This is where I hope for man-to-man coverage because someone is always bound to get open a lot easier that way. They're gonna hold us, and it's because I was too worried about throwing a pick. That's not sustainable if we want to win it all. So we'll have to play a little bit better in the future, but they're not getting the 3rd and 10. And I feel like I should be attempting some more returns with Hawkins because this guy is little and quick. He should be able to outrun almost anybody on the field, and it's almost disrespectful that they've decided to press him on this play because we know that he's faster than number 22, so we're going to get our tutty here. Tank Hawkins is a name that we need to keep an eye on during the playoffs, and it is 3rd and 12 for the Aggies where they have a bunch of slants out there on the field, but I gave that one up. The refs have marked it as a 4th and inches though, so I figured they'd go for it, but instead they sent out the field goal unit, and I don't know why'd they do that when their kicker wasn't even good enough to hit from there. The Aggies have not made good decisions in this game so far, and we just made it 17-0 with 3 minutes before halftime. Now they're on a 3rd and long again, and those hitch routes are not going to help them pick up the 1st down against us. But they've been running the same type of bad plays all day, and that's why we keep on increasing our lead. With that touchdown pass, Kyle Trask's record's also been broken, and we would eventually win this one by a ton of points, which is what I was hoping for. That's the best football that we have played all season, and it's at the right time of the year since it helped us knock off another challenge, but we still have some more ahead of us, so we'll see how our playoff draw turns out. Of course, DJ Lagway would take home the Heisman, and we'd end up finishing number 2 in the polls. But what's really important is that we had 3 first-team All-Americans, and at least I know the quarterback position should be filled, but it's not. Instead, I'm seeing a lot of second-team All-Americans, but the challenge is to have 3 first-team All-Americans, so I'd say we didn't complete that. So no matter what happens in the playoffs, I'm giving away a copy of NCAA Football to a random commenter on this video, and we're gonna have to wait a little bit for that to drop still, but at least our QB had great stats like this, and once again, he was able to lead the team in rushing too. Now, last season, Ty White was our number 1 receiver, but that wasn't the case this year. And don't ask me why Navy has Grand Rapids logos on this bracket. I miss doing that series, but I'll definitely bring something similar back when the new game drops. And let's see which of these 2 teams we're going to face in the quarterfinals. This is kind of what I was expecting, and unless Illinois gets this, they're going to be out, but they recovered the onside kick. So the Fighting Illini actually have a chance with 35 seconds left, and we'll see if they can do anything. I'm guessing they won't, but you never know, and on on 2nd and 8. They're going to check it down again, but not go out of bounds. So now they have to waste a down spiking it with 13 seconds left. And Clemson is set to play us in the quarterfinals unless they can pull off a miracle in the final seconds. They're probably going to set themselves up for a Hail Mary or two. And now they only have time for one, so we'll see if they can even get it off. The ball is up in the air, and that is going to be just short. It was a good effort, but Clemson came out on top. So we're playing Era Grant next, and all of the other SEC schools have already lost. I thought we were a part of a power conference, but maybe not. And I'm already upset at the fact that we didn't get 3 All-Americans, so we better take care of business and win Florida a championship. It's honestly been so long since I failed a rebuild. I've gotten so good at figuring out this game, but adding in time frames as well always increases the difficulty. And I think if we just went undefeated in sim, we would have had plenty of first-team All-Americans. We get the pick though, and that is the freshman strong safety we recruited. We have opened this game up in the perfect way, but they're going to hold us on 3rd down, so I think we're just going to have to kick a field goal here, which isn't the end of the world, but I probably shouldn't have gone with a wide receiver screen. I think because of how good our defense is, though, we're going to be just fine. They're actually trying to bomb us up the middle. That is a 6'6" safety that they just tried to get around. And now are we going to get another good play with our defense? This could be a pick 6 here. I've lost my voice, and because of that, I messed up that return. I'm also going to blame my jam finger for it, but at least we got the stop. And it already looks like Clemson is doomed from the start of this game. I'm telling you all, this defense is actually filthy. I should have stuck with the running back there, but they still couldn't get past midfield. And as the half goes on, it just keeps on getting worse for the Tigers. That is a laser, which is going to result in it becoming 24-0. Ever since that moment, we haven't pulled away entirely, but Clemson also hasn't had a great chance at winning this. So all we have to do is tack on this field goal to make it back to an 18-point game, and no matter how many times they drive it down the field against us, they're not going to come back with this much time left. Recovering the onside kick here would actually seal it though, and that's what we are able to do. So we're headed to the quarterfinals with Florida, and DJ Lagway was amazing. We get to play the winner of this next, and it's weird, but they're now both Big Ten teams, so I thought it would be close, but Wisconsin blew Oregon out by a ton. This is the same quarterback that made it so DJ wasn't a first-team All-American, and we're about to find out how good him and the Badgers are, but when it comes to their on-paper overall, they don't look great. I'm pretty much just expecting us to cruise our way into the championship, but Wisconsin is coming off of a 42-0 win, and the weather for this game is atrocious, so we probably should keep it on the ground. Now, I just did the complete opposite of that, but it might not work forever, and here on 3rd and 7, they have created 0 separation against our man-to-man coverage and somehow still came away with that. This quarterback is clearly no joke, because he's thrown for over 5,400 yards in this season, and they would get the ball back again to go down to our 5. They have not had a bad offensive drive yet, and I'm not going to try to bomb them deep entirely. I wanted to go for the post, but DJ just threw it off target, and we still have not been able to stop Wisconsin. Can we please hold them? It is now 3rd and 6. I'm assuming this is a wide receiver screen of some sort. They just took it over to Jordan there. He breaks a tackle though, and thankfully they marked it as a 4th and 1. I cannot believe that they are going for it though. If they pick this up, I would be so upset. We are all over it. We're going to get the interception, and we could also return this as long as we're able to get some blockers. There's nobody in sight. The first Badger I've seen on my screen is all the way down there at the scoreboard. This is a touchdown, and that is the longest interception return in college football history. We just set an NCAA record. All we needed was that one stop. Now this guy's got to be frazzled, and that's how we've held the Badgers again. The issue is the Badgers defense has also been pretty solid, and I'm just going to throw it there, but we dropped it into an interception, and they have the ball right back. I am not happy about that in the slightest, but as long as we don't give up points, it'd be fine, and we'd score after that, but it's all tied up at 21. I figured that we'd be able to pull away relatively easily, but that hasn't been the case. And here on 3rd and 5, I know that they want to probably take something underneath. They're going to probably get a route bounce though, and I was all over it. We didn't get the interception, but they dropped the ball. And I'm about to just start running it with the rain because we haven't had much success when it comes to passing. It's working too, as we have got it into their red zone now, and we're breaking a tackle, but we're 10 yards out from getting more points, so we're probably going to have to pass in this situation, and I ran it. I didn't like that look with the halfback screen. Sales is going to get a couple more, and we've got some fresh legs in for this 3rd and 2 that they were all over. We should probably just take our 3, but it hurts me to know we should have had a touchdown, and that's why you passed the ball there. They immediately scored, which means it is now on us to get a touchdown and take the lead back. Sales is going to get the first, but there's still about 3 minutes left in this game, and I do not want them to have the final possession versus us. I don't think we can chew the rest of this clock, but we're sure going to try it, and we have Hawkins down to the 10, so that helps us out drastically, but we can only get one more first down. I think no matter what, the Badgers are going to have a chance to respond, and I couldn't just fall down at the half-inch line. In order to send this one to overtime, all they have to do is get into field goal range. But so far, our defense has done a pretty solid job, and they're going to have to throw it up in man-to-man coverage, which we should have caught. Sky Daniels had it in his hands, and now it is 4th and 5 where they handed it off and we were not prepared. I cannot believe that they just ran the ball in that situation, but we should have been able to stop them, and they also got a route bounce, which means they're on pace to at least tie it up, and I sent a blitz. I had no choice. We had to apply pressure, and we're trying our hardest to survive here against Wisconsin. I knew it was a halfback angle route, but they threw a laser and then they dropped it. That is actually insane. They should not have had to deal with that. I've left their running back open though, and I'm all over that one. We're going to get the interception with Lamb. So Wisconsin is not going to the championship. It's us, where we'll be facing either Penn State or UCLA. We've already beaten the Bruins, so I'd much rather face them. And luckily for us, it looks like it is going to be UCLA unless Penn State pulls off a comeback, which is looking like there's still a slight chance of that happening since they picked up the 4th down, but the Nittany Lions have turned it over. The Bruins are picking it off, and I don't think he's getting caught. Like expected, he made it all the way to the end zone with no one touching him. So the Bruins are going to win by a ton. And the only loss that they've taken this year has been to us. We won by like 24 in Sim 2, so I think we're going to win a national championship. And even if we didn't complete all the challenges, I'm happy with how the 5-year rebuild went. If anything was going to put us out, it was probably our last one against Wisconsin that ended up being super close. But it was a great wake-up call, and we're getting off to a much better start in this game if we could have just made a tackle and we forced a fumble. I was about to be really annoyed if they picked up a first down there, but it's not even going to matter. We're about to go up 14-0. And can we please just hold on to the football? Now we're going to go with something that has a deep post in it because I feel like we can just gash this deep, but maybe I was wrong. They could be good. And I am going to eat up this cover 3 if that's what they decide to run with. You know, maybe this one isn't going to be as easy as I thought it would, but I do think it would be nice if we sent in blitzes against them and they're going to break that tackle to take it to the crib. Yeah, it's a 3-point game. I feel like whenever you have a 99 overall team, you really shouldn't be struggling versus many opponents. I shouldn't have thrown that on the run, but we turned around to not catch it either. And now it's 3rd and 6. We're there in 5 wide, and they were able to get open again. Our press coverage isn't working versus the Bruins, which is actually a big problem since that's what we like to run, but at least we were quick enough that time. And their kicker has come out here to tie things up at 10. Now we find ourselves in a 3rd and 14 where there's no way that they just tried to press the fastest guy. And even worse, they did it with a linebacker. What were they thinking? That has set us up nicely to run some clock and then end this first half with hopefully a touchdown, which we should have gotten. But Darnell Sales got tripped up, and now we have to hope that that was a good throw. This is really not going how I expected it to. And we almost missed that field goal as well. But we didn't, and I swear if they end this first half with a successful Hail Mary, I'm going to be so upset. I have a 6'6" user right here, and they caught that at the 1-yard line. Heisman mode is no joke in a championship, and I might actually lose this game with one of the best teams I've ever built in NCAA football. Now it's 2nd and goal where they are looking to probably scramble with their quarterback. Instead, they took it over to the flat, and they weren't able to get into the end zone. It is now 3rd and goal. They throw it out of the back, so I think we've held them to a field goal. Nobody expected it, but this one's been a battle, and I think I got to give credit to the Big Ten for being the best conference in this dynasty. They stopped us again, so now we have to get them off the field, and we are going to do so, but this is stressing me out. And somehow we got a safety with 3 minutes left. Granted, that is my fault for trusting the sim engine on this game, but I really wasn't expecting that to happen. On 3rd and 9, they had way too much time, and now we have to get a defensive stop. I simulated way too long against them, and we all know the run's coming, but the fact we're down by 2 is so dumb. If we give up a 3rd and 18 on the ground, I would literally lose my mind, but we almost did, and thank goodness they've decided to punt it back to us with a minute left. Now Hawkins is going to have an opportunity for a return here. He did a little bit of a back juke, which is going to allow him to use his speed to this left side of the field, and I think we're in a decent position. If I would have just played a few more downs, it would probably be better, but all we have to do is get a field goal, and we're going to take this route over to White, who gets out of bounds. The farther we get down the field, the better I'm starting to feel. I shouldn't be taking the shot to the end zone, but I was feeling it. We'd completed like 4 passes in a row, and now we've given UCLA a chance with 39 seconds left in this game. To be fair, they have outplayed us, but that's my fault. I definitely simmed more plays in this game than I should have, and here they're just going to go to a short pass. I'm just ready to be able to put an ice pack back on my finger, to be honest. This thing is twice the size that it should be, and I'm really more concerned about just being able to play more pickup basketball in the future. I'm a competitive person, so I really enjoy it, and on 4th and 1, what are we doing defensively? I really don't know, but they ended up dropping the ball. I'm going to be honest, we do not deserve to win this, but I have brought a championship to Florida, and in the process, I completed almost all of our challenges. I wasn't perfect, which is why I'll be giving away a copy of the new college football game to a random commenter, but for how terrible our sim luck was, I feel like we did pretty well. And all of you Gator fans that have been begging me for a rebuild for a year have finally gotten it, which I think went pretty well for all of you considering we had 5 first-round picks on this team and a ton of NFL players. That's gonna wrap the video up though, and there's still plenty of time before the new game drops, so make sure to suggest any other teams that you want to see me rebuild in the next couple of months.